an official non-for-profit. And only because I got tired of being ripped off through fiscal agency. So at Shalom and Tranquility, we I initially started what I thought was going to be a just a community garden, and we have evolved past just being a community garden. And I'll stop there.
I was getting some paper for some notes. I'm sorry. But I heard you. So you have a garden. Do you have plans to want to expand that garden? Like what is your
So
goal?
we have more, we started with just a garden. So it was one local city plot with 10 officially 6x4 raised beds. We have since stretched to across the alley to a micro farm. We actually have 4 city lots um that we actively do something on. 2 we grow on, 1 we have a natural play space, and 1 is we use as a community gathering space. Of those 4 plots, we recently purchased 1 through the county land bank. I have asked to purchase because I have been stewarding these plots as a resident for the last almost 5 seasons. And I have been denied by the city to own the land, but I'm going back again in hopes that we'll be able to buy the land.
Okay. Put you on my prayer list, sister.
Yes, please.
All right, who
Well,
else?
hello everybody. I'm April. April Owens. I do not have a nonprofit. I have worked alongside quite a few. So I've been able to observe the challenges that a lot of nonprofits have experienced. And I've kind of, because I don't have one, I've been kind of that voice of just asking like, well, why is this like this? And why is this like this? And why aren't they doing this? So I'm just kind of here to learn about that. But I'm more of a like on the support side of things. I don't actually have a desire to have a nonprofit, but I do want to support as many as I can in my areas of interest. I do birth work too, and I do a lot of stuff. I'm just here to serve. I don't even I do a lot of things. I have a lot of experience in many areas, but women and babies are my number one love. And also grief work. I like to work with people that have experienced different losses in life, because I have. So, but those losses is what brought me to my light worker journey. So that's it about me. I'm just here to help.
Thank you.
I can go next. So thank you for hosting, first of all, Kristen. Thank you, Gigi, for inviting me. Just found out about this, so I appreciate it. So I'm Evan. I'm the founder of Cultivate Yoga, and Cultivate, we started in 2017, and our mission is to provide yoga and make it accessible to anybody, and that's financially accessible. So we have 2 studios, one in Avon, one in Lakewood, and we offer what we call gift-based yoga. So that means everything we offer is completely free for anybody who needs it to be free. You come in, you practice. If you're able to donate back to us, we ask that you do to help sustain us as an organization, but that's how we get our funding. So we don't really chase after grants necessarily anymore. We are founded by individual students and donors, and it feels really nice because that feels more communal to me. And we've actually learned that we're not necessarily like eligible for grants, and maybe that'll come up later in this presentation, but like we found that because we don't necessarily target a specific demographic, like we're wide open, like we provide yoga to everybody, that kind of disqualifies us from a lot of grant opportunities. But the way we're doing it, it's amazing. It's like last year we brought in over 200,000 purely from individual donations and students, and we just keep growing and getting bigger. So that's my main nonprofit. Recently, I did start a second nonprofit for psychedelic assisted mental health therapy and ceremonies. So that one's brand new for me too. But in a similar vein, we want to make that accessible to people too. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
I can go next. Hi, thank you so much once again, Kristen, for putting this together. Definitely very helpful for me. My name is Kishana. I do have a nonprofit. It's basically on paper. We haven't been able to start providing services, but the nonprofit is called Club WOW. And WOW stands for Welcome to Our World. So basically, it would be before and after care for teens with autism, high schoolers with autism, and it would serve a variety of purposes, basically to provide before and after school care for those teens that have aged out of the daycare system. They would also receive the same type of therapies that I am educated in the different type of therapies that they receive and different activities that they could do. So they would be doing that. They would be getting different skills, training, social skills, community integration, those type of things. And it would serve for that population so that parents and caregivers can get back to work and just different purposes, but that would be the main purposes for care for teens with autism that can't find care otherwise and still need it. Thank you.
Well, hey, Kishana, I'm going to need you because I have a 13-year-old son with autism who goes to
Okay.
Sunbeam, and I've been looking for some kind of just social support because he doesn't have a
Okay.
lot of friends. He's verbal, he's very high functioning,
Okay.
but now that he's a teenager, he needs more social interaction outside of just school. He doesn't really have friends, and my daughter's going to college, so that's his only friend. So I'm going to need you.
I definitely
Nice to
relate.
meet
You know
you.
what? I do apologize. I didn't even, I'm a little nervous, so I didn't get to speak about my background. I actually have a 22-year-old son with autism, and he is the inspiration behind it because he went through something very similar when he was a teen. He didn't have a lot of friends. His social interaction was basically in school. And, you know,
Yeah,
in that age group, they need a place, they need a role, they need to be able to do age appropriate activities with their peers in the community. The community
yeah.
needs education. Caregivers need to get back to their own life. There's so many reasons why this organization is needed and very, very much a passion for me. This is my life purpose.
Yeah.
So,
My son is
but
such a sweetheart. He would be such a good friend to someone. So thank you for
yes,
this,
they
Kristen.
are.
But I'm
They
going to
are.
need you, Kishana. Thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. It's my passion. Thank you so much for your interest.
Thank you. Can I jump in real quick, Kristen?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I am a parent of individuals who are impacted by autism also. And so Shalom and Tranquility began as our mission at Shalom and Tranquility is to use gardening to educate, unify, and improve the wellness of families, atypical and typical families. So you parents are those of us that are parents and our lives are impacted by autism, we understand that verbiage. And so if it had not been for my parental support through organizations like Mother to Mother, I would not be a farmer to this day. Advocacy actually began for me as a parent.
Okay, I'm going to need you too.
That's excellent. Wow.
So we're all speaking one another's language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even the yoga.
Definitely sounds like it. Wow.
yeah, everything. Okay.
And this is very beautiful too, because this is what, and I'm sure I'll get to this in the presentation, but this is what organic collaboration looks like. And oftentimes in a nonprofit realm, when you are receiving grant dollars, they like force you to do inorganic collaborations. And that's another pet peeve of mine for the industry. And so I like to see organic collaborations come about because you all are just doing similar things, or you have things that can connect to one another that just makes sense. So I'm happy for this to be a space, and this is precisely why. So we have Gigi. Do you want to go? And Jonathan, you on here too? Did I miss anybody?
I'll go. I'm Gigi Evans. I do not currently have a nonprofit, but I've taught at Cultivate Yoga since its cultivation. And I just really support the faith-based, give-based model of running a business. I believe that there's enough abundance on this planet for everybody to have more than enough, and um, that the heart of individuals who partake in whatever service that these nonprofits are gifting will indeed fund the nonprofit itself. I do believe in heart-based giving. And I think the more people, the more nonprofits take on this particular path or way of dealing, the more people will jump on that particular model. But somebody's got to blaze the trail, right? And I love Kristen because she and I are both like, light that trail on fire. Let's get this going in a different direction because this ain't working, right? I left corporate America in 2018, and when I entered into being self-employed, I didn't quite fit into the like entrepreneur business model, and then nonprofit didn't really seem to fit into anything that as a structure that I wanted to build what I was building on. So I help people self-actualize and figure out their purpose in life through connection to the divine and to connection to their self. So we deal with yoga, self-awareness, self-love, a number of things. And it's like, who's going to fund that? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you even get funding behind that? And I'm not necessarily in the church model, right? So I don't fit the typical church ministry model to get the model for the church or whatever foundation that is for that. So I'm just exploring some different ways to actually get funding for what services it is that I provide, and a future vision that I have that I've been cultivating for some years, but not understanding just the dynamics of how the world works beyond corporate America. So I'm really here for information and insight, and just to grow in that particular perspective and make some connections to people who need help in that direction. So thanks.
Thank you for sharing, Gigi.
Well, hello. My name is Jonathan Collins. I am the founder and executive director of the Intelligence Over Emotions Foundation, where we specialize in organizational development, emotional intelligence, character development. I coach high school basketball. I work for the Cavaliers. I'm a Cavs youth coach. So initially I was teaching emotional intelligence through sports. This is like my life. I found a way to develop a purpose that was meaningful for the things I seen going on around me. Like I lost several brothers to gun violence. Two of my brothers were shot and killed. A couple of my brothers sitting in jail right now doing 11 years, 4 years. So this information that I chose to share with people was something that I learned on my journey through life, just trying to being a human and being a man. We don't have a space to open up and talk about our emotions. So I created this program. I have a partnership with Kent State University. I meet with a group of kids that foster kids that's been through violence. And I have a partnership with Cuyahoga County Juvenile Courts. I'm an actual 501c3 to where I'll be doing my program. It's called, I have the Fundamentals of Thinking program at Kent State. And I have a It Takes a Village Healing Circle with the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Courts. And again, they'll be sending me a group of kids through iCase management, and they'll be learning emotional intelligence, the process of thinking, a little bit of neuroscience and how neuroscience and psychology go hand in hand. The process the body goes through when dealing with stimuli. And I just felt like I devoted my life to this because it saved me. I seen that I'm a Cleveland kid. I grew up in the hood, and all I had was sports. Sports saved my life. And so I wanted to go back to some of these young men that had dealt with some of the same things that I was dealing with. And that was inner you, and getting acquainted with self first, doing more self-reflecting, becoming more self-aware so you can manage yourself. Just the whole emotional intelligence the reasoning for its existence. And so I just, especially as a brown man, a black man, I feel like we don't have enough teachers that look like us. So I took this information to, I worked for the mayor, I worked for community relations for 3.5 years. I ran for city council in Ward 9. And I had to learn the hard way about politics and them how everything that you think you see ain't what you see. And trying to be a healer and help, that's not really what the agenda is. And so I learned the hard way. And I kind of got blackballed and all that other good stuff. But nevertheless, I have a job to do for our creator. So if you follow that and you follow your inner GPS, he gonna lead you right to where you need to be anyway. So as I seen you discussing certain things online, and I was lucky on social media to see that. And the crazy part about it, one day I was sitting, I was thinking about you, and it wasn't nothing crazy. It just was like, where is Kristen? I remember at one point I seen you was getting married, and you had your step going with your birth, and then all of a sudden I didn't see you no more. And so my heart was wondering where she was, and then you started talking. I saw you start talking. I saw you start talking about things, and I'm like, all right, she knows something, and I need to talk to her. I need to figure this out because I'm right in that same space where they were trying to invite me into these spaces, and they was trying to take my idea. They offered me 6 figures and all this money, and to shell over my idea and to make it a part of the consent decree and all this their other missions that they got. And so it kind of and that kind of made me just run into my shell. So I ran from it. And so I'm here just to learn and get some knowledge from an individual that seems very knowledgeable. And all of you got doing something great. Gigi, I come out there to cultivate and get me some yoga in, which I'm overdue. The last time I came, I think I was trying to find y'all on Detroit and I couldn't find a building. I was lost. I'm riding around in circles looking like I'm about to steal something, trying to find a yoga spot. But yeah, everything that y'all represent is what I represent. And I prayed to God and asked, just put me around people that's like-minded so they can help direct me because I don't know everything. And I know that it takes a village, right? And so I just was coming to reach out to my village to get some insights and some direction as a black man so I can continue doing this work and on this journey for our people. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Well, all of y'all are so dope. I just putting out the call, right? I have a passion, a heart, a sweet spot, I should say, for nonprofit founders, because I'm a nonprofit founder, and I know how if you want to shut up, but you can't. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like you don't really want to have to do things a different way, right? Because it comes with so much extra stuff and, but it's like you have to because your soul is pushing you towards that, you know? And it's like you want to be quiet, but your soul like, nope, nope, stir it up, stir it up. So it's a lot. And I finally have gotten to a place where what I'm doing is building community around nonprofit founders, because we are the kind of forgotten people. Nonprofit founders don't have rights, which I'm going to change that, at some point in time. Their founders don't have rights. Because as a nonprofit founder, this is a vision that God has put on your heart, or the universe, or whatever your higher source is, whatever you believe. This is something that has been put on your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like God has spoken this to you, and this is your mission, and you wish it could be something else because you don't want to have to be bothered with all of the stuff that you got to do, and all of the lessons, and all of the hardships, and all of the persecution, and all of the whatever. But this is what we've been called to do. And in order for us to really do it and make the impact that needs to be made, the healing that needs to happen on our planet Earth, this is where we are, right? This is what we must do. So again, I want you all to feel free to ask me questions because I want to get to the core of what you might have questions about, what you need. I'm just going to go through the agenda, which really was speaking primarily on three things around the psychology of the ask and asking for money, shifting our perspective around philanthropy, and the art of storytelling. So the first thing I want to start off is the psychology of the ask, because in nonprofit, the only way that you are able to receive money is through the ask, whether that is requesting, grant funding, or whether that is asking money from, individual donors. But a lot of us have trauma around asking, and so that's like sort of the first thing. You have to have confidence in order to ask people for money to support your mission. You have to have a sense of worthiness about yourself in order to ask people to support your mission. You have to be able to believe in a thing that you're doing. And most of us, we don't ask because we assume that the people who we are serving don't have the money. Like that's always our thought, like, oh, the people in the community, they're not gonna be able to afford this. But most times that's not true. They actually would, but we're afraid to ask. So that's for one. The trauma really comes from this hyper independence. I always think about, like, when you a kid and you in the grocery store with your mother, but before you even get into the grocery store, your mother already telling you, like, don't ask for nothing. You know what I mean? And so we think that those things are really small, but like we learn from a very early age that it's wrong to ask. You know what I mean? Or that if you ask for something, you might not get it. And so we have a lot of trauma there, and that's steeped into like a poverty consciousness or a poverty mindset, as well, to think that we're not worthy of this ask. Like, who's gonna support me? And so again, this is why we end up running to foundations and grants to get money, because we like, oh, well, it's just easier to write a grant, or write a proposal to see if we get it, than to actually ask people for the money. That doesn't mean hounding people or anything like that. But it is like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and, would you want to support? It's all about how you sort of shape the story. And we'll talk about that. And the reason why I put, masculine energy over here on the asking side, because the opposite of that is feminine energy, which is the receiving side, right? So, a lot of times within our asking trauma, we have that hyper independence, which is also the overly or overt sort of masculine energy, where we like, no, I don't want to ask nobody for anything. I'm independent. I can handle it on my own. I'm a man, or I'm a, whatever. And so we get caught up in that, whether you are male or female. As we know, we both have masculine and feminine energy. So it's us moving into more of this receiving mode, right? That's more of the yang, right? The feminine energy, where you are asking requires you to sort of be on more of that feminine energy, because you're being vulnerable, right? By asking, because somebody also can tell you no, right? There's also can be sort of this element of rejection. And so you have to be in a vulnerable place. And so you have to ask in order to receive. We know that. And so our prayers get answered in different ways. Like, I'm under the belief that you don't necessarily have to ask a person. You can ask your source, ask your higher source, and then source will provide you with that cooperative component, or that intermediary that is the bridge to what you asked for, right? So if any of you asked your higher power, like, hey, I want to be around like-minded people. I want to be around nonprofit founders. I want to be around, people who, want to raise money differently. These may be all the things that you asked for, right? And the universe has answered you by providing it. The idea dropped to me to provide a platform such as this, to support nonprofit founders, on their journey to, I say, $1 million mission, to your first $1 million. And so basically this is the answer to your prayers in many ways, to be around people and to make organic connections and that sort of thing. So at the heart too of this, when we are talking about sort of the psychology of asking, I don't know if you all can see the list very well, but this is from Brene Brown. And this is a list of values. And I think that, of course, I think our values can change over time, and they can evolve over time. But this is very important to identify what it is that is actually value to you? What is important to you? Because whatever is important to you will be a part of your story that you are sharing with donors and you are sharing with potential donors. And again, we'll talk a little bit about the storytelling piece, but a lot of this has to do with telling the story, you know, like, why is this important? Why does our community need this? Why should you want to support such an initiative? What's different about your initiative than the other hundreds of thousands of people who are also, you know, doing something in your industry? Like, what sets you apart? And that requires you to really dig deep into yourself, into your soul, to get that out. Like, what is important to me? What do I value? So for example, and I encourage you, if you all can see this list, if you can call out one thing that is of value to you that you see on this list. I'll go first because, of course, I've seen this list a million times. But one of my core values is authenticity. You know, that's very important to me. It's very important to me to align myself with other authentic people, because that for me means heart work. That means soul work. That means that this person is being who they are. They don't have on a mask. They're not trying to be a certain way or act a certain way or come off a certain way. You know, they are allowing themselves the freedom to be and express exactly who they are. And they don't want to trade that, you know, for a title, right? Or they don't want to trade that for a grant proposal where they get $50,000 or $100,000, but then they have to do a bunch of this inauthentic stuff that doesn't have anything to do with what it is that you are doing within the mission, right? So you have to think about what is important to you. What are your values? So we got future generations, making a difference, self-discipline, right? And so you have to know that what you value, there are so many people out here, hundreds of thousands of millions of people who also share that value, right? And also share this, then that's the sweet spot, wherever it is that you share. Community. Yes, that's another one of my values too. Community, I value community. And so then you have to find other people, and other people have to know that, oh, we share the same values, is how we connect. Well, the only way that people get to know that is by you talking about it, right? You know, I meet so many nonprofit founders where they're like, I just want to do the work. I don't really want to, you know, be seen. And I get that, right? And I understand that. And sure, it's a way to do that. But at the same time, you are the spokesperson for your mission, right? No one can better articulate that vision than you, because again, this is what God has put on your heart. Nobody else can even see it. You know, nobody else can see this vision. Only you can see this vision. And so it's your job, even though what we might see, our vocabulary is so limited, right? Our vocabulary is limited, and we have to try to match what we see as our vision with the words that we know, which is why reading is so fundamental from a very early age, because if you only have a limited amount of words, it's just going to make it harder for you to articulate this vision that you have been given. And so a part of this is you sort of pulling out those words and just keep refining it and keep refining it and keep refining it until it sounds like you, right? I am the queen of changing my profile bio. I change it all the time because I'm like, I don't feel like that today. That's not who I'm feeling like now, right? I'm constantly evolving, and I will keep changing something until it's like, oh, okay, that sounds like me. That right there is me, because sometimes I don't have all of the words. And so it's a constant sort of, like I said, a evolution around that. So I'm gonna stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, so that's really just the asking part, like the philosophy of asking, or the psychology around asking. And we'll get back to actually asking later. But I also want to talk about shifting our perspective on philanthropy. And that is really because we tend to think of philanthropy or philanthropists as those people, wealthy donors, or, you know, foundations. My work has been in the traditional nonprofit sector, right? So what I've come to know what they meant about philanthropy is like the wealthy donors, the foundations, you know, and it's always a push of like, how much money can we give to get our name on the side of a building or on a wall or, you know, or whatever, right? But anybody can be a philanthropist, right? You can donate, as this came from Indeed.com. A philanthropist is typically an individual who provides money, time, or other resources free of charge to a group, person, or organization in need of assistance. And how philanthropy is often associated with wealthy individuals who donate large sums of money to various organizations, but anybody can practice philanthropy. So the campaign that, or the name of my sort of business is $1 Million Mission. That's the name of, I wrote a book called $1 Million Mission, and it's a guide to having a successful nonprofit organization. And so one of the things around helping people to get to that $1 million mark is helping people to understand what philanthropy really is and what philanthropy really isn't, you know, and that you can, we think that if somebody isn't donating large lump sums of money to us, then they're not a philanthropist or that is not worth our time. But that's quite the opposite, you know, having those small donations add up to a lot, and it actually brings the community together. And I think on a larger scale and a larger level, this sort of epiphany hit me last night, where I was like, what I'm doing with Sow 100 Seeds, which I'll talk about at the end, it's not about the money. It's not about raising the $100 million for 100 organizations. Like that's a result, and it's a tangible thing. But on a larger scale, what I'm essentially doing is knocking down all of the barriers, knocking down all of those labels, you know, as it relates to philanthropy. What it really is showing us is unity. It's true diversity, because anybody can donate $100, regardless. It brings people together, regardless of race, religion, you know, whatever these labels that we have come up with as humans. Anybody can donate $100. You could be a millionaire, or you could be a thousandaire, right? And so it doesn't create this hierarchy that we are sort of used to in nonprofit or philanthropy. It evens the playing field, right? Where you're just donating $100. So it doesn't matter who you work for, what your title is, or how much money you got in the bank or anything like that. You are just one with the community. You know, you don't get to have this false sense of entitlement or this false sense of status through our initiative Sow 100 Seeds, because you are only donating $100, and we really don't want more than that from you. You can donate more than that, but the point of it is to show that 1 million people can get together and donate $100 one time, and that will be $100 million. And that would be 1 million community members who have decided that they want to support these nonprofit organizations who are being led by heart-centered individuals.
I speak to that real quick, Kristen.
Yeah, hey.
That's exactly what is going on in Cultivate. I mean, you said exactly what is happening, and it's like the most beautiful thing. I refer to us sometimes as like the Bernie Sanders of like yoga nonprofits. You know, Bernie was like, you know, our average donation is like $5.30 or whatever. That's because he was so proud of the fact that like he got what, millions and millions of people to donate $5. And like you said, that adds up. And it's like exactly like you said, it puts everybody on a level playing field. It gives people like ownership and pride in the organization. And it almost starts to feel like a co-op at that point. It's really, really something special. And I think that's the biggest key to why we're successful, I think, right now in Cultivate. So thank you.
I
Thank
want to share as well about that, Kristen. Like what we do at Cultivate, like seeing something be sustained, like I know it to be true in my soul. Like I knew it, you know, like God give you certain information and you like, yep, I know it inside. And then another person is like, hey, I want to do this really cool thing where it's only supported by people's donations. And I'm like, yes, because I feel that in my soul, you know, like I feel like that's the way that that's supposed to go. And then you were like, let's do this on a big scale. Let's get $100 million, right? It's the same idea, but like take that focus and put it towards a larger amount. There's no reason why that larger amount cannot be achieved if we know that we can make $200,000, right, on the scale that we're on right now at Cultivate. $100 million is definitely achievable, you know, like, but somebody's got to like believe that, like there has to be a certain amount of faith, right, belief in that, and trust that this is the way that things are supposed to go to propel this. So I'm loving this work.
It's very fulfilling. Like the feeling that I got last night, sort of when it came to me on that level of the unity level, I was so overwhelmed, like it almost like brought me to tears. Like I was literally sitting up in my bed, like, and I want to give an analogy. So in 2016, when we won the championship, when the Cavs won the championship, like there was no crime that night. I had lived across the street from my neighbors for 10 years, had never talked to these people ever in my life. We were all out in the middle of the street hugging. Everybody who rode down the street was honking the horn. Like everybody was so happy and excited that suddenly race didn't matter, class didn't matter, religion didn't matter, right? Nobody was different. At this moment, we was just all winners. And that was it, and that was all. And then the parade, when I just remembered, like, and the RTA was free, like everybody came together, right? The RTA was free. You could ride the RTA downtown to the parade. They was having free giveaways. People, the businesses downtown, they got to thrive, right? Because everybody was down there and they was buying pizza and buying beer and celebrating. Hundreds of thousands of people come out to this parade. And again, we packed downtown like sardines. Suddenly, nobody cares about who they beefing with. Nobody cares about any of these things that and it was just love. Like it was pure. It was authentic. It was just, we was just winners and that was it. You know, period. And I feel like I felt that in my soul, and something in me was like, oh, this could happen. Now, maybe I'm crazy for thinking that, you know, we can live in the utopia, but at the same time, that's kind of what we all striving for in a way, right? We're all striving to improve our community and the conditions, you know, so we're all striving for a better world, a better society, a better community. And so it's almost like my soul was like, oh, we gotta figure
Ryan
out,
want to go get the pizza.
we have to figure out a way to recreate that. So it's like a beautiful moment. And as you talked about that, Evan, like I can only imagine how it feels at that level and that scale, and to be supported by the community. The community, it's an investment within the community that nobody is necessarily expecting to get anything out of. It's from a place of generosity, where it's like, we want to help, sure, this is good for us, but we want to help the next person. The next person needs this, they need to experience this. And that's beautiful. And that's where we want to get to, but on a $100 million scale. So the $100 million goes to 100 organizations. I always say that $100 million for 100 organizations through individual donations of $100. And how that works is just that we use a platform and the money goes directly to the nonprofit organization. It doesn't go to a third party. This is just people sort of going through a catalog, so to speak, to see what organizations are a part of the campaign, and them sort of reading about the organization, and then a video. If the organization doesn't already have a video, then I come out and actually shoot a video, and it gives people a snippet into what this nonprofit founder does and this organization does. And then they get to vote, so to speak, they can put their $100 wherever they want. you know, and they might decide to donate $100 to several different organizations. That's fine too. But the only ask is $100 one time. And if we could get 1 million people to do that, then we are essentially funding a community fund, the investment, but on a larger scale, and it being united. So when we are seeing the actual results and the progress, not because we needed to do research or data, which that's fine, I don't have anything against it. But what I'm saying is, like, we will actually see improvement in our communities because we have the amount of money to invest to do it. And the reason it's set up this way is because, and my goal, I should say, is for each of those nonprofit founders or organizations to get between $250,000 and $1 million. But the only reason why I was able to scale Birthing Beautiful Community so fast and as successful as I did is because the state had came and granted us $1.1 million, and they didn't put any restrictions on the money, which is unheard of. Like, if you understand this world, the state is very strict, you know. But when they gave me the 1.1 million, they told me, they was like, well, we're not going to restrict you. Just do whatever you need to do, spend the money how you know you need to spend the money in order to scale. And I was able to do that. So I took my little grassroots program in Cleveland and scaled it all across Cuyahoga County with $1.1 million, and then later into Akron and Summit County. So we got an office there too. But it was because I had the freedom to spend the money how I knew it needed to be spent. You know, it was no restrictions. And I want to give nonprofit founders the freedom to invest the money in the community how they see fit, because it's their vision. And you already know what needs to be done. What just happens is that the resources are limited, or you got to jump through so many hoops for those resources. Okay, let's go. Hey, Toya, we have somebody else join us.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No, it's okay. Well, can you tell them about your nonprofit really quick, please? I want them to know what you do.
Yes, it's loud in my house, but hey everybody. I am the founder of formerly Alive on Purpose, now has been rebranded to the Him and Me Project, and we unite dads and daughters in efforts to reduce statistics on little girls who are struggling with absentee fatherism, and yeah, all the things father-daughter.
Thank you. And I'm going to the father-daughter dance this year with my father. I'm 38, and my father and I will do our first dance this year.
So excited.
I'm excited. I told him about it, and girl, he already getting his suit. He was.
That is so sweet.
Well, I told you that. I told you. I said, as soon as you ask, he gonna be so excited.
So excited, so excited. He told me I get to pick the colors, and so we already working it out. So I'm gonna bring this around to the art of storytelling. We did talk a little bit about this, but the reason why this is important is because there has to be a human connection between you and the potential donor. And so you want to be able to convey that human emotion or human connection, because you want people to feel you. So I often ask nonprofit founders, and you can take a minute to even think about this too, and you can put it in the chat, is what is the ethos of your organization, right? We rattle off what our mission is, what our vision is, but what is the ethos? What is the feeling? What is the emotional connection to your work? Like, if you had to tell a potential donor or describe to them, like, what does it feel like and cultivate? What is the culture and cultivate? What is the culture of the Him and Me Project? What is the feeling that you get when you are interfacing with this organization, right? That's your sweet spot right there. What is that ethos? Because as you are developing your story, you want to be able to convey that emotion and articulate that emotion to your potential donors, because that's the human connection piece right there, right? And you also want to be able to convey your value. The storytelling also allows you to convey your values, the values that we talked about. So if your value is community, or your value is self-discipline, or future generations are making a difference, how are you building that into your story when you are talking to people about the history of the organization and what was put on your heart to start this? Why does this matter? Because the ethos, the beauty about the ethos is it's not something that can be replicated, right? It's very unique to your mission and what it is that you're here to do. You know, missions can be the same. A lot of the missions are the same. They just worded differently. You know, we see these nonprofit organizations, and everybody got a mission to eradicate poverty, eradicate hunger, you know, eradicate homelessness, and but the ethos is very unique. It's only it's a feeling that only what you have and what your services are bringing to the community is what it can have. So for Birth and Beautiful Communities, for example, our ethos was sisterhood. It was sisterhood. That's the feeling that you got when you came to one of our classes, when you used one of our services, when you interacted with one of the doulas, when you interacted with one of the workers, one of the administrative team. It was sisterhood, right? You can always go into that space and expect for it to be a feeling of sisterhood. Right. And so again, so in speaking about this, that's the story that I was telling, is sisterhood. I remember I had to do this. I got community leader of the year in 2019, I think, and I had to do this article. And when they was asking me about, like, well, how did you get started? Where does this come from? I instantly started telling the story of when I had my baby when I was 21 years old in my third year of college at Kent State University, and how my friends all gathered around to support me. My son was 11 days old when I went back to start classes. And I could remember me meeting my friend on campus with my baby, passing them to her. And then sometimes she would be on campus and she would have to pass him back to me. And then somebody else, was gonna get him at this time because I had a night class. And so it was sisterhood, right? I had a real story around how sisterhood changed my life for the better, how sisterhood got me through college, how sisterhood helped me graduate from college with a baby, with a 1-year-old, right? And so again, when you tell that story of sisterhood, then people start to think as they listen to you, they're like, "Ooh, yeah, I had some sisters. I got a good sisterhood." Or some are like, "Man, I really wish I had that sisterhood." But it connects with them in such a way emotionally that now I'm interested, right? Like, ooh, if these people asked me to donate $100 to them, I would, because I value sisterhood. Right? So you really want to start thinking about, what is the ethos? What's that emotional connection, that human connection, and in what way can you convey value to match value, right? Match if my value is sisterhood and her value is sisterhood, she's hooked to this. She's gonna give $100 to this because it's important to her, and she's gonna feel good about giving that $100, because how the person feels when they're giving you the money also matters. That's a spiritual thing, because money is energy. You don't want anybody begrudgingly giving you money. If somebody gives you money begrudgingly, give it back, because you don't want or need that energy. Which is why the smaller asks are easier, right? Because if you ask somebody for $5,000, and they're giving it to you, they might give it to you begrudgingly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just doing this because I have to give some money away. You know what I mean? You don't want people who they just want to donate because they got to give some money away. Like, no, you really want that heartfelt connection, because that will allow your money to grow. That allow the service that you're going to provide, and that allows your money to grow. It's really like planting a seed. But you can also plant some bad seeds too and have a bad harvest. So you want to make sure that you are planting good seeds. Yeah, God loves a cheerful giver. Amen to that. Generosity. Any questions or comments there? How y'all feeling? Is this helpful at all?
It's excellent, actually. I'm sitting back and just learning, trying to soak up as much knowledge because I know this time gonna come to an end where just you ain't gonna be able to give us this knowledge. You're gonna have to move on. And so I'm just trying to learn. Just like you said that, just to say seed. So I created a curriculum for my nonprofit through my fundamental of thinking program. Something like sales, social emotional learning, but it's called seed, social emotional enlightenment and development. And I want to plant the seed of thinking. You gave example of when the winning the championship and how everybody was on the same frequency, and the frequency of love was more present, and we were all absent of our ego, and we were just living in the now, Eckhart Tolle, right? And so that sound like this book called The Celestine Prophecy, how they talk about this new way of thinking that can come, and it's all predicated off of love, absorbing the sun energy and connecting it with your emotion of love within you, that's God, and then we projecting it back out to each other, and actually we feed off of that, and it becomes contagious and spreads. So it's just a lot of things. It's a lot to digest to say at one time, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just very appreciative to learn from y'all.
Thank you.
I gotta say, Kristen, the art of storytelling, this was very helpful, but that part right there is so, if you've noticed on my Facebook posts, that is so important to me. The work that I do is that art of storytelling. I keep putting myself back into the shoes of each and every person that I've helped or had or served, because I was that person before. And so when you see yourself, when you remember every single day that you were once that person that you're serving, it's like, man, this is what I needed when I was in your place. So I'm actually able to give you what I didn't have. That's such a beautiful feeling. Like, even, you know, just wanting to assist other nonprofits. I remember, you know, trying to break all these generational curses and show my kids something different and live a different life than what I was used to and what my family showed me. And I had no blueprint. I had no one to come next to me and support me and guide me and say, well, this is what I had to figure it out all on my own. So it's like, even offering to like support different nonprofits, I want to be that person to assist in every way that I can, because I remember that story. And then I didn't have any support. You know what I'm saying? I lightweight still don't, but I didn't have that support. So that storytelling, it's so important. It is so important because you're looking at a mirror. You know, every person that you serve, you were once that person at some point. And that part right there, almost every other post I put up, you see, I'm telling the story. And it's just gratefulness, like, wow, you know, I was once there, and let me show you how you can get over here if you let me. But I needed that one, you know, at one point and didn't have that. So I appreciate the art of storytelling. It's very, very important. It helps you. That's how you connect to people. You got to give them that mirror.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love what you just said about like the people you're serving now, you were once in that position. And that's like a great reminder for sure. I'm gonna come back to that a lot. So thank you.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm over here like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
You probably know about the Samsung camera. So I'm over here like about to cry for you because we've been talking about this in the background, because I just want you guys to, y'all can't hear. I've been talking to her behind the scenes about this. So to hear the passion, and we've been talking about the founder and the passion of the founder. And I didn't catch the young lady's name who just spoke, but when she was like, I once was that person, like, it's just such a passion in storytelling that I think we have. And I'm assuming most people on here are founders of their own nonprofits, but it's just such a passion that we have for our own nonprofit. where no one really can tell that same story the way we can tell it. No one really can articulate the struggle, the passion, why we came to what we came to, why we're doing what we're doing, why we can't quit when we want to quit, why we cry in the middle of the night. And I think we have to believe in that story through this process, because I think sometimes, you know, we have the imposter syndrome and thinking that our story is not good enough, right? When we stack it up against other nonprofits, our story is not big enough, our story is not large enough. But just what y'all shared, I'm over here all like, oh, this is good. Like I wanna get educated, and I wanna this is so good.
Oh yeah, that's why like this has to be a community, like seriously. We have somebody else. I don't want to just call Colleen on. I just noticed. If you want to speak and introduce yourself, Colleen, no pressure. Okay, no problem. So I want to just in keeping with the artist storytelling. Are you all familiar with the hero's journey? Anybody familiar with the hero's journey? No? Okay. So the hero's journey, really can't think of the band's name, but he did this many moons ago. And so the hero's journey is what we generally are all used to hearing about, right? In movies, Superman, Batman, you know, basically you start off as a normal person, you know, everyday person, something happens, and then you call to an adventure. And along this adventure, you meet a mentor. We know so many people who had this story. Jesus had this story too, right? It's called the hero's journey, and it's a real thing. This is generally how all movies are made, books are written. You know, it's being this normal person. Something happens, you get struck by lightning or something, and suddenly you have a superpower, which is, you know, symbolic of, you know, a tower moment within our lives to where something dramatic or traumatic happens and it awakens you. You have a spiritual rebirth pretty much. And you start to go on this spiritual journey. You meet a mentor who's like teaching you and educating you along the way. Then you sort of get to this threshold where you are now, you're no longer who you were, but you're not sure who you are becoming yet. And so so then you move into the unknown, and you got all of these trials and these failures, right? Like but you persistent, and you picking up the pieces, and you going, right? And along the way, you growing, and you got new skills. And then you now reach the point of death and rebirth, right? Which is that death I was talking about earlier, where we die 1,000 times in our life. The old us dies, and the new us emerges. And so after you kind of go through that, then there's a revelation, and you're like, oh, this is who I am now, right? I'm here to save the world. And so there's now some change that you're starting to see. They're starting to come together, and you have a moment of atonement where you are so humble, and you have all this compassion, and you have all this grace for people, and you no longer judge people. You now see people in a way where you like, you know, that person is hurting. Those people are hurting. I'm not going to condemn them because they are just at a lower level of consciousness. You know, we all are just operating at the level of consciousness that we are. So you stop getting angry, and stop being upset, and stop, you know, trying to beat people up and dog them out. Well, me anyway. And then then you get to the gift. You get to the point within your heart, and the gift is you being able to move through your heart space. You understanding your heart, understanding your authentic self, understanding who you are, and, you know, in the world, and going back out into the world and giving the gift to the world. So every next time you watch a Marvel movie, follow the hero's journey. The hero's journey is in every that's how most all writers write character development, right? And that's the masculine. This is like the masculine hero's journey, right? So then back in the 90s, a lady named Maureen Murdoch, she created the heroine's journey, which is more the female, the woman side of the woman's version of this. And so, oh, hi Colleen, thank you. I see that you wrote in the chat. Oh, thank you. Yes, well, you know, I'm a 100% advocate for home birth and 100% advocate for midwife. And that's a part of why I had to take this route, because I didn't want to do traditional hospital stuff anymore. I just didn't want to have anything to do with that world anymore. So the heroine's journey is the feminine version, the female version of it. And I have a women's mentorship group, and we are supposed to be doing a book club, start the book club, and to do this book specifically because I got this book. It is so good. The heroine's journey. This is more from the woman side of things, where you separate from the feminine, which separating from the feminine means you kind of separate from your mother in this way, where you start to see your mother as a woman, as opposed to seeing her as your mother. And you start to get to know her on that level. And then you start to identify with the masculine, meaning you go out into the world and you start to do all the things that they tell you to do, right? They say, go to school, get an education, go get a degree, go get a husband, have some kids, right? Like the societal standards for the woman. And then along the way, you start to, what they call meeting ogres and dragons, is you start to, that world that you thought that you knew starts to break down, because you start to see things that just kind of don't line up. You start to feel a bit unfulfilled, and you're like, oh, there's more to life, and then you have like this boon of success, right? Where you're on top of the game in this world that you have been born into. So you got the degree, you got the man, you got the job, you got the kids, you making 6 figures, and then suddenly you're like, I'm unfulfilled. But you got all this money, you got all of this, whatever, but you feel this aching and this longing in your heart, and you're no longer there. You got the success, but you're not feeling. I've certainly been through this. And then you get into what they call spiritual aridity, which I love, love, love that term, spiritual aridity, to really talk about how we go through that the ego death, right? Like you starting to awaken to this feeling of unfulfillment or discontentment, and you don't do with that. So when it says initiation and descent to the goddess, that is you coming down as a woman, where you are in the bare of you, right? Like you are stripped of everything that you knew before, and you are just down to this sort of understanding of creation, right? So it's more like you starting to pay attention to nature more, how nature works, the seasons, how animals work, you are just starting to more connect to that natural side of yourself. And then there's this journey for you to reconnect with the feminine, with yourself, which is you reconnecting with yourself. And then it goes on to when you heal in the mother-daughter split, because you get to see your mother as a woman and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point of all of this is that is a part of our storytelling, right? We go through these, and that has to be a part of your journey when you are talking about your what you have experienced, what led you here. I heard, Jonathan, you said something, you talked about how you had brothers who you lost, to gun violence or to jail, or you know what I mean? So it's the hero's journey. Like you went through the trials, and then you coming out, you like, okay, well, this is how I want to give back. This is what I want to do, right? And all of us have that story in some way, shape, or form, right? We all have that. I don't want to say what do they call it? But I don't know, like this nothing to something kind of story, right? Where we but then I challenge us to even make our story even more empowering as well too. Like you can tell it in a very empowering way, where it's like don't victimize yourself, but that you overcame these things and really what you overcame was yourself, right? So again, those are 2 very important components to the art of storytelling: the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. And then I have let me see, because we got about, what I say, 6:30 to 8. Yeah, we got about 17 more minutes. So I'm about to wrap up talking about the Sow 100 Seeds campaign. Any more questions? Any questions or comments there about the hero's journey and heroine's journey? Do you all do you all understand how that journey work? And do you have like have you found yourself in the hero's journey? Like, do you
Sure.
see yourself somewhere on the hero?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Oh
I never
yeah.
defined it as that.
Oh,
Never.
yes.
I never put those. When you said it like that, it was really extremely interesting because it just sounded like my exact path. Again, just being the oldest of 14, my mother was 15 years old when she had me. She was in the 8th grade. So I was a child being raised by a child. And so like everything, like I was questioning myself, like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to? I felt like God, I had to, me and God made a pact. Like, all right, if I fell short in life, if I did anything inconsistent, all right, I'm gonna restore you, but this is what you got to do for me. And everybody not going to see you this that I'm asking you to do. Like I don't have a college degree. My story is totally different. I don't have all that, but yeah, I ended up in these spaces because I followed my inner GPS. I know how to communicate with God, our source, to where I can hear what's being delivered to me. And if you listen to that, you can follow and you follow through on it, it'll take you everywhere you need to go. And so that hero's journey part was such an amazing part for me because for a long time I just didn't understand and I was questioning, I was doubting, I thought I was in a dark place, but then I had to realize that a seed is planted in the dirt and it's dark down there, but it grows eventually and it sprouts up. So just because it starts off in a certain place don't mean that's where you got to end at, right? And so it just was, like I said, that was an amazing analogy and story. So that was, I applaud that. That was really creative. Thank you for putting that into perspective for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The heroine's journey I had never like seen drawn out like this. And then the way you explained it, I was like, why are you telling my business? Right? Because I really feel like that's just the pathway to leading a heart-led or following a heart-led purpose, right? Like your mission is triggered by this particular cycle. You know, if this cycle isn't activated and you don't go through this, you don't receive the gift that it like lights the fire for you to take action into this direction, right? It was the falling apart of all of the things that you were seeking. Like once you got there, you got all the things that you were seeking and you realized that that actually wasn't right. What was the fulfillment or what actually brings you joy is the falling apart that transpires that reveals to us, that gives us that revelation that you spoke of in the hero's journey. So when you spoke of the storytelling, I felt actually both, right? I felt the heroes. I'm like, oh, I've been through the hero's journey, right? That's like why X-Men is like everything to me, right? And then I've been through the heroine's journey because that's my story. So this is how we connect to people, and people are like, I want to support that. It is the ethos. It gets to the essence. So, like, why should I support you? Without that story, without this like cycle, there would be no. It's like the pathway to empathy, right? Like the trail to empathy. You like easing your way through the channels of people's hearts through your story so that love, energy, and currency of money can be given. You know, because just like you, Kristen, like I love money. I feel like that is just like God's way of really showing us physically what we know internally in faith, right? Like your level of faith is shown monetarily, right? Your level of belief in what you're actually doing is shown, or it should be shown monetarily through this particular energetic exchange. So I dug it. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I say too that the reason my focuses are yoga and psychedelics are because those two things in particular bring to light that every single person, like there's no exception, every single person is a hero or a heroine, and they're all going through this journey. And it looks different for some people. I mean, the particulars of it look different, but like those two modalities, yoga and psychedelics, for me, have opened me up to like just stop and take a look at myself and notice where I am on this path. And that's what I want to help bring to other people, like, and to find empowerment and, like Gigi said, like empathy, you know, for other people, because we're all going through it. We're somewhere on this journey. So that's why I'm passionate about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we did talk a little bit about this, but I did really say, because I don't know why I didn't actually put the name of it in the presentation, but if you have seen some of my social media posts or I've spoken about this, is that the campaign is called Sow 100 Seeds. And this was born out of, even though I left nonprofit 3 years ago, I had already been supporting certain nonprofit organizations, all founder led. I only work with founders. And they were having trouble getting grant funding. And these are some of the most prolific people in the city of Cleveland who are doing work, like the real work. Like I say they doing God's work, right? And I was getting increasingly frustrated with them not getting the grant dollars, you know, because I don't like to just accept people money and then not do, you know, a good job, right? Like I'm a grant writer and I'll do fund development and I love what I do, but I want my clients to get the money, right? I don't want my clients to be paying me, but they not getting the grant dollars. You know what I mean? That worked for some people, but for me, it's like, no, I want you to get the money, because if I have agreed to work with you, that means that I am in alignment with your values and the ethos of your organization. So I want to see that organization thrive. And I have been very successful at raising money and writing grants and stuff like that. So then when I'm seeing that, you know, the people who are doing the most heart-centered work are having trouble getting funding, then that really bothers me, right? And of course, I didn't leave the nonprofit, the traditional nonprofit very nicely. I mean, I left and was like, F all of y'all. And I'm about to go and do something else because I'm a sacred rebel and I'm revolutionary and I don't have to take this. So I stormed out, burned all the bridges just to ensure that I never crossed them again. And I took a chance and here I am, and I'm probably blackballed. I just saw that this award that I got in 2019, they took me off the website. Which I find so funny. And listen, and here's the name of it. They gave me an award. The irony in this is that the name of the award and the organization is called the Soul of Philanthropy. How hilarious is that, right? And it's supposed to be about giving back in different ways, you know. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I don't necessarily believe in agendas and all of that. I really just believe that people are operating at the conscious level that they're at. And, you know, I also understand that it's a blessing to be at a level of consciousness where you can look back and you could say like, wow, I used to think like that too, or I was at that level of consciousness at one point in time in my life. So I have compassion for those people and I have grace for those people because they just aren't there yet, right? So for them, I'm sort of a threat, right? Because I did everything, like, I didn't have to leave my job. I didn't have to leave the industry. I was making six figures. I was fine, right? But I didn't agree with so much that my soul was like, it's not worth $100,000. I can make you $100,000 20 times over if you stay true to yourself. So that was sort of my exit. And the alternative for me, as I was speaking to one of my clients, their assistant, we started talking about like, look, this has to be a different way. And the different way was Sow 100 Seeds. And the basis of it is generosity. It's pretty much a generosity campaign. right? Where I'm educating the community on the power of generosity and the importance of generosity and why, and the emotional, spiritual, financial benefits of generosity and how important it is to give and give back to the community and give from your heart and give to those nonprofit founders who are doing the heart center work, and how to spot authentic nonprofit founders, right? Like, how do you know who's doing the work and who's not doing the work, right? For me, I've been in the game for 15 years, so I can spot authentic work and inauthentic work like that, right? The vast majority of the large nonprofit institutions, no shade to them, but they get a lot of money and they don't know what to do. So they just do the same things over and over again. It becomes an industrial complex. So nothing changes. So the infant mortality rate doesn't change. The literacy rate doesn't change. You know, all of these things don't change because you have to have courage in order to change. Change requires courage. Change requires you stepping outside the box and doing something different. Change means, you know, having the courage to be disliked. You know, it's all of those things. You know, I've had to experience all of those things. I've had to experience people saying that I was crazy, that I was having a mental health breakdown. I was like, my goodness, because I got closer to my spirit. Well, that's crazy. It would seem to.
Have you ever heard that saying that says insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result?
Right.
You gotta do something different. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we ended up settling on, let's do So 100 season. And at first my goal was only $5 million. At first I was like, all right, I don't raise $5 million because I done raised 7. So I know I can raise 5. This won't be a problem. But then my spirit was urging me, it was like, that's not big enough. That's not big enough. And so I ended up saying like, all right, God, $100 million. And it was like, spirit was like, yep, there you go. $100 million, 100 organizations with individual donations of $100. And so why $100? $100 because $100 is so easy, right? It's affordable, it's doable, it's an easy ask, and it's diverse, right? It's you can, so the way that I have the platform set up is that people can donate $100 right off the bat. But let's say you want a fixed income or you get Social Security, but you still want to participate, then you could break it up to only for $9 a month, just a recurring fee, right? Then you get your $100 in for the year. You know, it's a part of like, I don't want to say necessarily tithing or offering, but it's an alternative, so to speak, right? Where you can be a part of the community and we're not asking you for a lot of money, you know what I mean? And the money is going directly to this nonprofit organization of your choice. It's not a third party. It's not somebody making a decision saying like, no, we're going to put your money here. But the other reason why it's $100 too is that it gives you as a nonprofit founder the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever it is that you need to do with the funding, right? There is an element of transparency, right? Because you do just want to keep your supporters up to date on what you're doing, right? We're doing this because we want to see progress and we want to see change. If we don't see that, then we got to go back to the drawing board. But right now we have to try something different, and this is the different thing that we are trying. So when somebody would donate $100 to you, they're not going to be all on your back about how you spending $800, right? So it gives you some freedom and flexibility for you to, you know, hire the staff that you need to hire, you know, get the equipment that you need to get, you know, do, you know, what it is that you need to do. There do have to be stipulations because I don't want people necessarily to get the money and then go out and like, and buy buildings, because I know that's the first thing a lot of us, you know, think about is like, you know, the real estate. I'm just buy a building or buy a space. You know, there will be some things that we can help to kind of navigate that. You know, not saying that you can't buy a building, but we want to make sure that you're not doing it right off the rip. Like, give yourself some time to get your programming going and building it and making it strong. And then we can start to look at those more concrete things, right? Because the first thing is service first, right? Service from the heart is first and foremost, always. It's not to feed your ego. It ain't to make you rich. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it is for you to be able to get a decent salary, even if that is 6 figures, right? Because self-preservation first, right? You have to take care of yourself first. You have to be okay. You can't be struggling financially on how, if your lights is gonna still be on and you serving people, right? I mean, so we have to get the notion out of our head too, that in order to be of service, you must be poor. Like that's not true, right? So again, it's meant for you to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your staff, and take care of the people that you are serving and actually making progress, right? Transformation. I'm trying to get back to that 2016 parade, right? I want to see more love days. I want to see a day of love. I came up with this other thing. I'm always brainstorming. I'll get back to it. I got to think about it. It has something to do with violence or nonviolence. But anyway, but that's why it's affordable, doable, easy ask, and it's diverse. So anyway, that really is all of my presentation. There's a couple of things that I just want to end by saying is that I really want to build this community. I am thinking about just doing a free Facebook group for nonprofit founders. Actually, I already have one, and I got like 100-something members in it already. So if people are interested in joining the nonprofit founder group, then you can on Facebook. The second thing is I have a membership club called $1 Million Mission, and that is for nonprofit founders specifically. And it is a toolkit to everything you need nonprofit. Like, so resources around accounting, resources around fundraising, around leadership development, around like everything you could think of nonprofit A to Z, everything that I've learned, board development, everything that you need A to Z. Is courses, there's templates, there's just everything that you need around nonprofit. It is a membership. It's $80 a month to be in the membership. I come on, you get to get me exclusively to answer all your questions. I did this as an affordable way because my clients, to retain me, cost $5,000 a month. Like if I have to come in and do everything and write all of your grants and do all of your fund development and all of that, like to hire me costs $5,000. But I always get people who ask me, Kristen, how can you help me with this? Can you do this? Can we do, you know what I mean? And this was just a more affordable way for people to have access to me and my knowledge and be able to support them. I also update the membership with grant opportunities. So I'm not anti-grant, you know what I'm saying? I just think that grants should be supplemental. They should not be primary funding. This way, us, the community, should be primarily funding our programs, and grants should be secondary. So I do update the list of grant opportunities and things for people that's out there and to apply. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to send out a follow-up email from this. And so you'll be able to, if you want to join a membership, you can. If you want to join a Facebook group, you can. And I think that's it. If you are interested in being a part of the Sow 100 Seeds campaign, I already have 20 organizations right now, but the goal is 100 organizations, and we have to do them one by one. So if you are interested in your organization being on the Sow 100 Seeds roster or campaign list, then you let me know. And then the second thing is, if you want to volunteer for the Sow 100 Seeds campaign, we need a bunch of different skills. We need marketing, we need visual, we need design, graphic design. We need, because I'm running it literally like a campaign, like I'm a politician. Instead of being a politician, I am getting people to donate $100 to the organizations. So it's going to be ran in the same way, like I'm running for office, but I'm really just running for the people. That makes sense. So for those people who want to volunteer, you can. I'm gonna put my email address down here. Feel free to reach out to me. Any questions or comments? I'm so happy that y'all came on today. And should I do this again? Should I put this out again? Was this helpful enough to me to do a second round for more people?
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll come back again.
Good. Any closing thoughts?
Just a quick before I get off here with you guys. I do a every third Saturday of the month. I meet with a group of kids at Kent State University. I'm taking a group of kids to the Monsters game on April 12th. And I also have this program with the juvenile courts called It Takes a Village Healing Circle, where we'll be meeting with kids and trying to help redirect their life, reduce recidivism, their normal jargon. But I'm going to be needing all the assistance I can get. Anybody want to volunteer? The yoga piece that we were talking about, Evan, and I may have told you, Gigi, I have that in my budget for us to practice a little mindfulness, just different tools and character development that we'll go through. And so I was trying to figure out, I have an office downtown, 815 Superior Avenue in the Superior building, downtown. So I have a space in there. I don't know if I'll be able to use it for yoga or whatever like that, but we can figure out something. But I would love to collaborate with you guys, anybody who would be interested. And there's more stuff that I still want to learn from you, Kristen, and get some insight. I know that $5,000 retainer fee gonna cost me, but I'm gonna start finding go through my piggy bank to figure out how to make this happen, because I know I'm gonna need your assistance. And like I said, everybody, I put my information in here, put my email, my website as well. You can go check out my website, and anybody who got some insight and some direction that can assist me in any way, I really would appreciate it.
Well, you could just do the $80 a month. You don't have to do 5,000. I mean, I won't say it's a good deal. Better than 5,000.
Alternative.
Yeah, it's a good alternative.
So real quick, so is the idea is you're gonna have this platform, right? So 100 seeds. So ultimately you'll have 100 organizations, and then people can go onto this platform, donate, commit to like $100, right? Whether it's monthly or one at a time, and then they choose like where that's allocated to based on these 100. Okay, cool. I got you.
Yeah, all of the organizations are listed. And as we evolve, I'll start to categorize them, they're more focused on education or mental health or healing or art or whatever. And they get to read about the founder, and then they get to watch a short video, about the founder and the organization. And then they, just judge, and they just get the pledge, to whichever organization or organizations that they want to fund. So I did it reverse this time. So like I was talking about how my retainer is $5,000, and so this is on the reverse end. So like I do all of the campaigning, and of course I still need the help of the nonprofit and the organization to market it, so to let people know that it's going on. But I'm doing kind of all of the behind the scenes work with the volunteer and stuff like that. So there is a percentage that my company takes out of that. But the way that it's set up is that like I don't get paid unless you get paid. You know what I'm saying? Versus the other way is you got to pay me $5,000 up front every month, and then we, gonna work it out. This also allows me to be motivated behind it as well, right? Because I want to see change. So I'm only going to agree to work with and have those nonprofit organizations and nonprofit founders on a platform who are doing heart center work, right? Because I want to believe in what you're doing too. If I have to campaign for it, I have to believe in it, right? So that's sort of how that's set up. And I know that like the people who have been coming into my space right now, it's actually been just divine. You know what I mean? It's like I've just had all of these heart-centered nonprofit founders just been finding me out of nowhere, and I end up talking to them, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is beautiful, because again, I've worked enough in nonprofit to where I understand and know what authentic work look like and what inauthentic work looks like. And I don't know, like this is the charge that God has given me to sort of just be this conduit or this sort of middleman, so to speak, between connecting the heart-centered founders to the funding. And I also have donor advising services as well too. So then I do get wealthy donors that come to me, and want to donate their money, but they don't know necessarily where to donate their money, right? And so I do the value thing with them, right? Where I'm saying, well, we going through, what is your values? What do you believe in? And then that helps me to help them decide which organization, it only can be really the ones that's a part of So 100 Seeds, where their money, where I think based off of their values, the money should go.
It's really great. It's awesome. Thanks for doing it. It's really cool. Yeah. Thanks for
Kristen,
tonight.
I'm sorry, Evan, my apologies. What's the selection process to be a part of the 100 core group that you'll be working with?
So you have to be a nonprofit founder, and it has to be heart-centered work. So let me just say this too, because I've been working through that a lot, right? Because the selection criteria is not going to be like what we're used to in terms of selection criteria, right? Like, you know how foundations and stuff, they have a selection criteria, and you got to meet this guideline and this, and you got to have this, and you got to have that, right? It's not like that. This is more like, so you, Ebony, for example, I already pegged you a part of the campaign because I've already seen you in action. I've seen your work, right? Like, I know what you do. I know what it is that you're working on, and I can see how what you're doing will move us forward in a way of progression. So I literally have just been trusting in the divine. And I said, well, whoever God is sending me, those are the people that's a part of the campaign. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not making a decision. I feel like it's coming to me. These certain people are coming to me. And those people who are coming to me happen to be people a lot of times who have probably reached out to me at points of time before. I've seen the work that they've done. I know I don't know them, but I know their spirit enough, right? I know their vibration enough. I know their frequency, their energy is familiar, right? And so it's not anything concrete, right? It's more on this energetic level. But I was thinking that how we could move forward in terms of nonprofit organizations is that the people who are in the So 100 Seeds campaign, if they then would recommend a nonprofit founder that they know, you know what I mean? So it has to be kind of like on this sort of energetic level, right? Where we are all staying in line with the mission of sustaining community programming through community donations. And then bigger than that, what are the programs and initiatives that's ultimately going to unite us, you know, and really solve a lot of these issues that we are having within our society. Does that make sense? Because it's like, I know we used to having concrete things and a checklist and stuff like that. I struggled with that too. Like, God, what is the criteria? And it was just like, do you feel it in your heart? Like,
Right. It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense.
it's vague, but it's like,
You
that's
said it
all
earlier,
God has given me so far.
or you said it
Yeah.
earlier, the organic collaborations. It's like something that you don't have to force. That's the soliciting prophecy, like being able to follow the life's energy, and it'll direct you where you need to go. And then you not, like you said, it's not your choice. Yeah, I'm really following my GPS within my soul, and it's gonna put me right where I need to be, and it's gonna put you around the people and bring the people that's supposed to be there.
Exactly. And that's it.
There were some things before we end, there were some things that were said that like moved my heart in this conversation. And they came from you, Kristen, but also from Evan. And what you said was about judging like, this was not verbatim, but like judging the pockets of those that we serve, right? And Evan talked about the donation based, the acts, they just ask for donations to support the work. And so in the work that I do, it's like I've never like been compelled to ask my neighbors, because I'm fortunate enough to live where I serve, where I'm allowed to serve. And I always just like, they ain't got it. You know what I mean? And like I was compelled, but I was also convicted on that. Like, if y'all believe in what I'm doing, why won't you give? And $100 is doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not
I
an
just wanted to share that. Thank
intimidating
you.
ask. Yeah, it's not an intimidating ask, right? Like you would be comfortable asking for $100. Like my son has a 2-week football tour to go on. And I just randomly, the morning I saw it, I randomly got up and I just sent it to my friends. And I was like, hey, I was like, he got this going on. Like, can y'all donate $50 or $100? Right away, they just started sending it to me. You know what I mean? But I've never done that before. Like I always pay for everything. And I don't even know what dawned on me to do it. I think because I was doing this campaign that I was like, I wonder if I just asked. And I just asked. And they was like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? My sister just sent me 200. She sent me 200. I didn't even need no more money. My sister like, here, let me, so it's just, we don't ask though. And we have to ask, and that's a psychology thing. It's a trauma response in the sense that we don't ask, Okay. All right. So I know I done took up enough of y'all time. I appreciate I appreciate you all with so much gratitude and love. Thank you so much. I'll be sending out a follow-up email, and you all have my contact information in that email. And I love you all. Thank you all for joining. Tell your friends about this. When we have another one, send some other nonprofit founders that you know. And I appreciate y'all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Really great. Thank you.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Wait, 1 second. I'm
Bye.
sorry. I'm
Oh.
so sorry. Before you go, Kristen, I had a grant in the chat, but I was sending it to a person individually. So all the people who said they do yoga, I was literally just came across my screen as y'all was talking. So I'm putting it in the chat, but I'm sorry. It was private and not public. So there you go before y'all disconnect.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Buddy.
All right.